at Gilly, and do we want to introduce ourselves? I think we've done that enough. We're all here, but Chris, minutes from last week. Anybody see any issues? I do too.
Yeah.
As always.
Best ones I've seen today.
Yeah.
Have a motion?
Move to accept the minutes.
Second? All in favor? Next, any public comment? Nothing? Come on. Any work group member announcements? And now we're into the hard part. Water classification, map, and definitions review. What we got?
So I've been busy since last time, and I basically digitized and created GIS layers for the previous water quality classifications map. So, and I also pulled in the geodatabase with all the moorings and docks. Moorings are green, and docks and wharves are that purplish pink color. And then the layers for all our fishing stuff is under there. So I don't know how you guys want to tackle this to start with. I would suggest maybe we can shut off some of the layers, and I know one of the things was kind of determining, do we need to shift around some of the lines on the water quality, the water uses map? Because clearly, when you turn off the fishing stuff for a minute here. When you zoom into someplace like all through here, there's a lot of moorings and wharfs in this light use area, which we may want to reconsider. Like, I don't know how that got out of anything. I think that's the High Head Yacht Club probably. So there's some stuff we should probably maybe like move our way through the town and take a look and make sure that we're either happy with how things are classified or want to shift some lines around. And I think I can just do it like in real time, unless it's anything super complicated. Also, just so you guys know, I improved somewhat on the previous version. I just did a 1,000-foot buffer out from the mainland of the town of Harpswell. The previous one had some gaps for whatever reason. I don't know if they just, I'll show you what it looked like. It just didn't encompass like all the islands. Some of them had just big dead spaces. I'll have to see what the old one looked like. There we go. So you can see there was some like blank areas that just didn't get grabbed because it was like little nubs of rock, or it wasn't connected all the way. So now every place that's within 1,000 feet of a Harpswell town line has been just filled in with whatever the classification was that was closest to it. So that's what we're dealing with to start out with. We've got a whole thing, and somebody just shout out with how you think we should start.
How accurate is that based on the current town map?
I did the same thing. I georeferenced it, so it's like exactly where the lines are. Yeah, so the outline of everything, it's there's pink. Some of these are, you can see like some of the areas are the green shades. Like this outer edge here along all of the color is 1,000 miles out from whatever piece of land it's near. So that's what that looks like. So, yeah, 1,000 feet, sorry.
As soon as someone says miles, we're
It's been a long day. It's just 1,000 feet out.
Probably started it.
Yeah. So how do you guys want to start this?
Well, I think that we need to kind of go through. Go ahead, sorry.
How did you determine it before, those high intensity, I mean, obviously Mackerel Cove, Cundy's Harbor, but was that the only thing you kind of used for reference when determining those high intensity areas?
That was all part of the harbor management plan.
You remember that, Billy?
Yeah, I was involved in it.
Yeah.
But I don't remember a thing about it.
Oh, come on.
I was there for all the meetings.
I wasn't there.
A lot has changed since then, but I think clearly, a lot of the pink is going to have to change to blue, I think. My feeling looking at the definition of type 1, I've been reading up on it. The difference between type 1 and type 2, in my eyes, seems more like a type 1 would be, again, like I said before, like a shallow cove where high intensity fishing can't happen. Not a lot of piers, not a lot of moorings, some homes, maybe not homes, but more of a kind of a quieter cove, such as Woodgen Cove is an example. If you go to
Yep.
the neck, so I had yacht club is here, much more. Seems more type one. This seems essentially the whole west side. Type one. I don't think that's accurate.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at just moorings, people coming and going from their moorings is, you know, going to make it a little bit busier than what it's. But it's, I don't know if you guys want to have,
Start
like,
at the bottom of the neck and kind of work our way up.
sure.
Yeah,
Do you want to hit these islands first? Make sure we're good over here with.
yeah, because
Also, ignore where it trips over into the Brunswick town boundary. I'll clip that later when we're doing cleanup. I didn't want to. It takes a lot of time to do this, and I didn't want to put the effort in that direction before our meeting. So White's Island area. How are we feeling about kind of this whole? Also, do we want to have our fishing layers impact anything that we're determining about these, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or is it going to be its own thing as Class 5 legacy fishing waters, just a standalone layer? Do we?
Everything is going to impact it. Whatever is happening in the area, right? So fishing, mooring, boating, docks, I mean, all that stuff should impact what type of waters it is. Because it's based on what is there now,
right.
right? It's an inventory of
Yep.
what's happening there now. So we do need to look at the,
All right, I'm going to move that higher in my list so we can look at it easier.
Pretty much the head of every cove in Harpswell, other than mackerel and in the harbor, are going to be type 1. Around a lot of those islands are going to be type 1. Most all your islands, type 1.
So like, for example, right here, if we pull in the fishing activity, you've got some pogey stuff that goes along
Yep.
down here. Do we want to change this classification from type 1 to something else, or just leave this and have the fishing area speak for itself?
did you pull in the aquaculture leases around that area as well?
You know, interestingly, DMR's removed the ability to download their LPAs from their database for some reason. I asked for it. I specifically emailed their person. I'm like, hey, where did this go? I need to use it, and I got no response.
Because
So,
that's kind of important. That obviously is changed since 2011.
Yep.
How much activity is happening in that area, and that it has a big impact on what's going on in the area.
I mean, just by definition, if you look at that too, with the pogey overlap, with the pogey overlaps there, that kind of falls under multi-purpose waters, type 2, you know, because now it's being used
Yep.
for multi-purposes, where you have that overlap. So, I mean, it's kind of a, quite a,
That's pretty high up, though, isn't it, Dave? There's not a ton of stuff going on around White Island. Is that?
it kind of follows a depth contour, so that was.
Yeah, there's a couple leases, intertidal leases, a couple leases in the north end, but other than that, a lot of duck hunting takes place out
Not a lot of fishing.
there. Bogey.
So also keep in mind, like, depending on if we decide to amend, like, if we decided to amend this section to be like type 2 based on the pogey activity, or decide to leave it alone and say, no, it's not that much pogey activity, people are going to wonder how to interpret that. If we've reclassified some areas based on the fishing information, but not others based on a similar fishing layer, they're going to ask what criteria did we use. And if you guys are okay with that, it's just going to mean answering some questions. But it might be helpful to just pick a strategy and just use that equally around, you know, the whole map.
It looks like the northwest side of Birch Island may need to expand to type 2 to the northern tip.
Yeah, this whole section.
Yeah. So
And this was, what was?
I would
type
leave that
3?
type 3. That's where like the
Yeah.
public launch is there, Paul,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And like, are we happy with this little public launch being just this section? Like, there's a lot of moorings down here. We all right with this differentiation? Like, that's good based on what you guys know go on there between type 3 and type 2?
I mean, that's just where the Birch Island residents come.
Okay, so
It's just traffic.
that makes sense. So, do we want to maybe like have this section right here turn that tealy blue color and match up with the type 2? Okay,
I would definitely do that.
all right. I'm gonna try
And that's in light of the mooring activity and the boating activity in there,
to see how quick or not quick I can manage.
and the poking fishing.
Yep. All right.
You do the same thing with the west side of White's Island because of the pogey fishing.
Okay.
Go almost all the way to the north end of it.
So I'll just cut it right here if that seems like to make sense to you guys.
No, he wants to go all the way to the top of White Island.
Oh, okay, the whole
Yeah, you
side.
see what the
Okay.
channel is.
All right, then we do this then. We'll go here. Hang on.
Teaches all your tricks.
This is, GIS is not anything fun, trust me. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to take notes to keep it going quicker, maybe, get through this in an hour.
You got, yeah, well, yeah, we could do that. Let me, yeah, maybe that's a good idea. Take some notes on this.
We also have the advantage it's being recorded. So there's a recording of
Yeah.
the notes too happening, you know, that might help.
Don't need to do,
Probably should have just printed it off and then just
yeah.
marked
Yeah,
it with our Sharpie.
yeah.
Mm,
I believe when we did the first map, we literally went, I think you were there for those.
Yeah.
days, too. We went along the shore, we actually marked it.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to end up messing this up badly.
Yeah, I just kind of mark, Marianne has it focused on the screen. Go back.
That would work.
Let's do that.
Yep, okay, so yeah, so this side, based on the fishing activity, let me turn that back on. That's perfect. I can just look at that and catch up. This. And back on. So this whole section and up to the side of White's Island, let me move this back up there, is gonna be modified up to here, do we think? Like the end of the Pogey zone where it's just 3 feet anyway?
Yeah,
Shift that to type 2 waters based on the activity. Everybody's good with that?
Would that make sense?
Yep. I think so. I think this up here is all right. How about this side of White's Island? Are we too concerned about all this? I know there's some, is there LPAs over there?
Yep.
Maybe.
If there's LPA there and there's moorings there,
there's quite a few LPAs right there. We
And-
approved a lot of.
I really
harbor
think that
waterfront.
needs
Type
to
2.
tell the people that are, townspeople what's going on.
Yep.
That you want a snapshot, what is there.
You go from the south end of Scrag to the most northern eastern point of Birch. And that
Sounds like
type
you're writing a
2.
pollution closure notice. That's how we do them.
Yeah.
Well, it
Yep.
doesn't really change much. It's just,
No, but it's good to, that people should be aware if they're, someone's coming to buy a house or move or whatever, then they'll have a better idea about what's going on. So we can include like this section, because I'm pretty sure there's LPAs all through there.
Yep.
And then coming down this side of Birch, same thing, and there's all this fishing activity. So I think this whole side also should probably be type 2, just based on the fishing and and I know, isn't that where do we get new LPA applications coming in for that area, or is that? Yeah.
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 well, we shouldn't base it on new applications. We should
No,
base it
no,
on
but
what is there.
I'm pretty sure it was like along the edge of the Pogey fishing anyway, so I know there's stuff that's in there. All right, so this area, type 2?
Yep.
All the way through?
There's enough activity going on there.
Yep.
We're coming and going.
I think so also. All right. You want to hit over it? This clearly looks like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that doesn't.
Yeah, this whole, maybe
Blue.
this whole, the whole thing, I think, with all the fishing around it probably
Blue.
needs to be blue. So all of this will be type 2 blue. See? How about this little cluster in here? We'll leave that alone as type 1 or throw it in with the fishing, type 2. Kind of overlapping everything. I think that's type 2 also, with all the lobstering and
Yeah.
We
pogoing
have
and
several
stuff.
different lobstering,
Yep.
sorry,
And
fishing activities.
pogeing.
Yep. All right. Okay, you guys want to, what's this guy?
Take the fishing back off now.
Yep.
So the
So,
whaleboat has got a tremendous amount of activity going around it.
yeah. Yeah, like both of these, that's all fishing, so probably both of these would be type 2 also, are we thinking? Instead of type 1?
Yeah, I don't think those could stay type 1. If any, they might even be type 3.
High intensity.
I don't know, what is, type 3 is high intensity.
Yeah.
Mooring fields are large. Heavy points of access.
Where I saw it was the high intensity boating areas and what you were saying. You would know better than me.
Well, but when you look out there, I have a house on the western shore of the point there looking across, and there's nothing there other than fishing boats usually, but everyone fishes there. There's scallop boats now, bogey fishermen.
We could beef up the definition in multi-purpose waters and just stress that that it includes heavy commercial fishing too, or,
But I think it definitely should go to type 2. I don't know what.
Yeah. Type 2.
okay,
I mean, type 1 is low intensity. That is definitely not low intensity.
yeah. Okay, do you guys want to start at the tip or start up at the other end? What's your
Keep
plan?
going around.
Okay. So, all of this stuff out here, Haskell, same thing, like loaded with fishing. So I would assume
type 2.
all of this stuff would have to go to type 2
Yep.
because of that. And then we're pretty good with the type 4, seems pretty accurate. That is what it is. These upper type 1 areas here, those are just wharfs, the purpley pink colors. Other than that, David, you think those are pretty all right for,
Yeah. Yep.
like they are?
I think that's type 1.
Okay.
Yep.
And then how about this type 2 stuff over on this side? This seems to be, probably makes sense. I'm gonna guess there's, yeah, lots of fishing over there, so that's probably all right.
Yep.
And over here, this little, I don't know what's going on here. We got this little stretch of type 1 in between a type 2 and a type 3. And the moorings and wharves kind of trickle down into it on that side. I don't know if you want to just make this whole thing type 2 or cut it right here where the moorings are.
There's not, that's a weird area because you get really big waves in there. So there's not a lot of points of access.
Mm-hmm.
Well, piers there, because it's a really bad place to have a pier. The bank's steep coming down off the shore. I believe a lot of the, now I'm thinking about it, when we did this map in 2011, we really based it on land access mostly, as opposed to what's going on the water. I think that's maybe the difference why we're seeing this,
Yeah.
different size of the point. Interrail shoal, I just don't see a lot of, what's the fishing right there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they kind of, do you want to leave this stretch that's untouched by fishing type 1 and maybe
Maybe.
make this type
And then
2?
start-
Yep,
Start where it says house and go up,
yep. I think that makes sense.
but I don't know.
All right. Everybody's good with this high intensity, what is that, type 3 boating, Dover's Cove area? How about this situation here? That's probably needs some looking at. This whole thing.
Can you put the fishing in again?
Yep. It's kind of pokey territory, like right up to the edge there, but
It is busy shore.
yeah.
There's been, I think, 65 piers built there since 2011 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like crazy.
It looks like probably that whole stretch, maybe all the way up, maybe going up to like the mouth of Widgeon Cove could probably be type 2, where it overlaps and it's got all the
You think
moorings.
it's type 2 or type 3? Billy?
Yeah, type 3. Yep.
Okay.
I think the any pier where there's like woods would be type 3, but like maybe Marsha Shore. I mean, I don't know if that would be type 3 though. I think it definitely goes blue. I don't know if you want to go back and identify some of the commercial, piers where people are fishing and selling their catch as type 3, but
I mean, we could also do it like a type 2 and then just do like one final review before we're completely finished. What's our deadline, April 9th or something? We have one more meeting before that, right? It's up to you guys.
Well, all those moorings, this south, those are all, that would be type 2, correct? That's not fishing, that's recreational mooring.
It's just registered moorings in the town. So.
Yeah,
And then the purple are private and commercial wharfs.
Britain is
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so
That's common.
what about Bill? Or is that? or do we
More,
not get
that's probably
that,
more type 2.
You
There's a difference between his place and Whidden's,
know,
obviously,
oh, yeah, 100%.
right?
Yeah.
His isn't an all tide access. Nothing going on in the cove.
Those people probably want it.
Yeah, so we could cut it off here
Oh.
and then leave Clark Cove as type 1.
Yep.
But this whole shore switches
Sam,
to
would you
type
say-
2.
Bundle.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, so change Whidden's over to type 3.
1,
2. Okay. Great. Got Widgeon's good. Oh, so how about, what about this little cluster here?
It's Morse's, isn't it?
So should that be a 3 or just leave it as, or a 2?
more of a 2, Dave, wouldn't you?
He's got a few fishing out of there, don't he?
They're in and out of there.
Maybe,
Make it a 2.
Goes in
maybe
and
3, I
out.
don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely blue.
Yep.
Okay. We can go for 2 for now.
Yep.
Leave Widgeon its beautiful pristine self. And then how about this section of Mill Cove?
You make that little stretch right there too, just that little, right where your cursor just went.
Yep, so like right, track the pogey stuff or?
Yeah, basically down to where the moorings end on that, right
Down
there,
here?
yeah,
Yep.
so right there.
Okay,
I just be careful about going too north in Mill Cove, because
I think you could stop where the moorings
where the
are.
moorings are, okay, that sounds good.
that drains out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, you can't
It
see
is
that, but that's a
quiet.
depth thing, that's,
Yeah.
and then, let's see, so High Head is,
How much
Probably
traffic?
that cove can stay type 1. Then as soon as you get to where it says high,
yep, right here, this
type
little,
2 all the way up.
yep.
point?
That's a little, this is a little flat, you can't see it, but it's no water
Yeah, I think
there.
that could stay 1.
And then how about up here through the Narrows? Type 2 maybe with all this stuff?
Yeah, I'd have type 2 all the way to Spruce Cove.
Yeah, because this is European oysters. How do we feel about this fishing area? A little bit of lobstering, little European oysters. We want to make just where there's the center part type 2, where there's fishing, and leave the outskirts 1, or?
This is the spot of the bay where it gets tough, because there's not a lot of stuff going on up there, right, Dave? But-
Yeah, also there's Brunswick's, like, I think Princess, is this where it splits with Brunswick? Right? We have a, yeah, so some of this overlaps into Brunswick, just ignore that, but right through there. It's up to you guys, how do you want to handle this type 1 area with fishing in it?
Is that,
No, that's a gap that the 1,000 feet didn't meet there, so that's, I can fill that in. And I can go back and, I was gonna ask you guys how you want me to handle. There's a few places where you see little slivers that were just outside of the 1,000-foot buffer, which I can merge that into the, it seems, to me, it makes more sense to merge it in with the surrounding areas, and we can explain in our definition of how we came up with the lines that it's 1,000 feet or water's completely enclosed by Harpswell land. That's up to you guys, like I'm saying, do we want to include blue for this fishing area right here, even though there's no moorings or wharfs, just because there's some activity, or do you want to just leave it alone?
There's a lot of recreational fishing that takes place up even around, what's the name of Doughty Point?
Yep,
Right into the reach, right in, like as far as Henry Creek. Anything further south than Henry Creek, I would keep that at type 1.
so what do we do with this? Leave this alone where it's at?
I'd have it
Type
type
2.
Type
Type
2,
two.
yeah.
Okay, where, like tracking this, right? Is that what we're talking about? This little area of European oysters and lobstering will be
We're
type 2.
doing that based on fishing activity and recreational fishing.
Yeah.
Got it.
And not only that, like, during the air show, that's mobbed with boats, and there's a lot of, I mean, I did a lot of harvesting in the reach last year, and I was surprised just the activity going from gravel pit lane and into the reach.
All right, how about this whole arc up here? Are we all set with this stand type 1?
Yeah.
All right, let's scooch over. I guess we'll go down and then back up maybe, or I can cover the top of Spaskedagen. No, Harpswell's so wonky here. It's hard to get everything in an
Let's just go
orderly
north.
way. All right, let's do, so long reach. Might as well hit this whole section. How are we feeling about this? David, are you good with this type 1, or should we shift some of it to type 2 for what you were talking about, like the extra boating or European oyster stuff, or?
Yeah, you could. I mean, that's only a lot of people that access that come from Princess Point Landing.
Yeah.
They motor up through there. We motor up through there. Yeah. I know there are a couple leases within that vicinity as well on the Brunswick side. But
Do you want to make it like type 2 for long reach down to like the last wharf or something?
yeah, I would.
And then leave this little tail, type 1, down below the
Yep, in
moorings.
there, there's not much.
Yep.
And I know you see Chatterjee's, Dyer's Cove.
Yep.
You want to make sure that you leave that in type 1.
This right here.
Yeah, you're gonna get pushed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just inside Dyer's, like this, just this? Just
Yeah.
This little, okay, but we can like slice along the outside of it.
Yeah, might as well. I mean,
Okay.
it's supposed to be a 60-foot sailboat sitting out there on that one mooring.
Wow, oh, all
Yeah.
right then.
That came
Okay,
up last time, that people want to be type 1. Why is that? Because it restricts other things?
no, well, and it's just like, it feels, it's a good feeling to say that you're in a quiet backwater.
Oh, okay.
There's no point in upsetting people.
But
if we
we're
don't
not
change it.
saying you can't do things.
Yeah.
All we're doing is we're taking inventory and saying what is going on there
Yep.
at this moment. Is that right, Paul?
Yep.
We're doing the best job we can with tools we have. Doesn't say you can't do anything there, doesn't say you can do anything there. You have to go through the process of EP,
Yep.
all the things.
How about all of Dowdy Cove in here? Are we all right with this as type 1?
Yeah.
And then maybe, do you want to do anything with all these, where the wharves start, or leave that alone as type 1? Up here.
There's
You
quite
may
a-
want to expand that type 2
Like make this type
over.
2 over and kind of
Yeah.
grab those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's easy to do. All right, so up here, I don't know.
From the tip of Bombazine there, the northern tip of Bombazine, down to where it opens up into the river, there's a ton of activity there
Yep.
between recreational, commercial fisheries, leases.
So maybe
Four
like,
leases right there, on bump right there, I think.
yeah, take type 2 and just kind of expand it all through there then, probably,
Yeah.
until it meets the purple, except maybe leave this alone. What is that? Cove.
Laurels.
Yep, so maybe like
Yeah, you can leave
go
that
across the
cove
mouth,
Yep,
and then
that drains right out.
we'll capture all the rest of that. Will be type 2 between all the moorings and all the fishing. We got a nice purple. I'll leave that alone. Oh, that's European oysters, right?
Yeah. Whatever.
Fun.
Doesn't have to, can't limit what we can do.
Yeah. All right. Then that's a type 3.
Think about how many people you'd make happy now.
Well, what's up with that island there? Are you bringing type 2 down?
Yeah. So do you want to bring type 2 on the outside of Long Island? 'Cause
Yeah.
There's fishing. that
Yeah,
runs right
I
through
mean, the
there.
river is a zoo in the summertime.
Yeah. Okay. And then how far down do we want to bring it? Just continue it right
I'd
along?
continue it right down. It's basically just your heads of the coves and
Yep.
stuff where it drains out is your only.
All right. So that'll all continue and merge in with this type 2 stuff. And then we had a little.
You where that purple is on the left right there though, that in there can stay type 1. Because
Okay.
that drains out, that cove drains out pretty good.
Yeah, these are European oyster beds. That's what the purple is right there.
What about where those moorings are?
I guess you're right, because that could be type 2 because of there's a lot of guys that do drag for oysters right
All
there.
right. So we'll follow maybe like here.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and
but the head of that cove
and then the
where
up,
those,
up inside
yeah,
can just
that's
stay
all
type 1.
type 1.
All right.
And get rid of that See that little bit of type 1 you have on the southern?
this-
Yeah, get
yep.
rid of that.
Make that all green, all type
Yep.
2. Okay.
All those little pieces there.
All right, yeah, all that. Let's see, that I think that's all European oyster stuff too. It's hard, I forget.
Yeah.
Type 4 is purple and so is, yeah. Oh, no, that's actually type 4. So this is this is
Yeah,
County's
that's the
Harbor.
harbor.
So that is what it is. That makes sense.
Yep. I'd make it type 2 kind of all the way down and around the point right there too,
here.
except for you could leave the very heads of those couple of coves pink. Like right in Sandy Cove where that pink dot is could stay pink, you know, where you can see where there's no fisheries overlay.
Yep.
Just the very head, and the same in the cove just to the west of it. Yeah, right there, basically that. Because they drain
About
out
like up
pretty good.
behind Big Hen Island.
There's a lot going on up there
All right.
because there's 2 commercial wharfs up there and a ton of floats.
All right, we'll leave this then type 2.
I think
Or
it's
even-
type
this is-
4, and I think it should stay type 4 because there's a ton of recreational, commercial.
That off.
Oh,
All right, so
There's a
Phil-
lot of boats in there now.
There's a lot of
Between
boats.
Peters and Soapers, and that whole area really is pretty busy because you have Bethel Point Boat Launch where that green is borderline to type 4 now.
Yeah, I mean, this is type 3.
I think you could keep the head of that cove above where your cursor is. Could almost become a 2, but out across the middle, like from Bethel Point straight across to the harbor, that's at least a type 3, if not a type 4, just because of the sheer amount of traffic and stuff and fishing. There's a fishing that happens there, pogeing, lobstering.
Yeah, just as a reminder, it's freighted with every kind of fishing activity
Yeah,
all through there.
that's a pretty busy area right through there. And that gutway, there's always boat traffic in that gutway between Yarmouth Island and Bethel Point.
So are we thinking maybe like this whole area should be type 2? Just because
Yeah.
of the busyness of it?
Yep.
Okay. And then these are already type 3s, so that probably seems good.
I think you could leave that little strip of shore where you see there's no wharfs or moorings and it's undeveloped. There's a little bit of lobstering that occurs right there, but it's a pretty steep shore, so there's not a lot that's really happening in tide, I don't believe. Pogeing, I guess would be it.
Talking about the west side of Yarmouth Island, or
No, I'm talking on the east side. I think that'd be Gunpoint, wouldn't it?
No,
Long
Point's
Point.
further down.
Yeah, because that's the dam right there.
Where do you mean?
once you go up.
Oh, get up
Yeah.
a point.
Yeah,
It's a good
sorry.
point.
This little strip right here.
Oh, you're way over there already.
Yeah,
All right,
sorry.
you're,
This I think could all be 2.
okay.
And yeah, this should be 3.
So maybe like-
Straight on the boatyard. I think this should become 2 down in here because you have all that
Yep, flowing out.
traffic coming out of there. It's
Yeah.
got to come out one of these spots.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so we'll cut it right there, and this can all shift to 2. And then before we go down, let's do Quahog Bay real quick since that's kind of right in the middle. So
Yeah, I think that whole thing is a 2
At
really.
least 2. And
If not a 3.
Sometimes it's a 3
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the summertime when that Warrenfield's full.
well,
Right.
all the QBC traffic and stuff around here that what they've got going on. Like, do we think maybe the whole thing should be a 3?
No,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. 3 is pretty.
There's a lot going
That's a
on.
big
up
change,
there.
boys.
Well, I mean,
Especially where you have the conservancies expanding now.
They've constantly got stuff running back and forth
Yeah.
between the island with all their
I could see,
yeah.
I think we could get rid of some of that in there. Could become 1. The heads of all those little coves.
Yeah, I
1.
could cut off the little
1,
tips.
1.
Anywhere where it just bottom,
Yeah.
like the little flatted out places, I'll shift to 1s. All right, so we'll make Snow Island basically a 3, just because they're their own mooring field basically. For
And I
their
think we
ships
should
they do.
run 3 down along that where all the moorings and
Over here?
wharfs are on the mainland on the left side. That right there. Yeah.
Over here. Just continue down the.
Yeah.
we're gonna get, when you jump 2 numbers, it's a big change, guys.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, we've been jumping 1 number, now we're jumping
Yeah.
2.
but I mean, how far do you have the boatyards?
What
Right.
happens in 13
Yeah, the
years?
boatyard's up here, right?
Yeah.
I'm definitely on board with 2. I don't know if I'm on board with 3, but.
We can go incrementally, like I said,
Yeah.
let's do,
Well,
we'll
no,
step
I'm
it
not
up.
the only
And,
one saying, not my call. But
I
well,
think
you are the water guy that was involved with the original
it
creation,
doesn't
though.
mean anything right now.
All right, and I'm gonna incorporate this dead sliver into something, whatever you guys.
2, 3, yeah.
Let's
Do we
make
need
it.
do we need a 2-3 shade?
Yeah, yeah. What's
Cut it in half.
just
or-
make it a little, can you shift that greenish blue color?
2.5.
Yeah.
An unsure.
Yeah.
Darcy, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Is it possible for your program to create a type 5 layer where 2 types of fishing come in contact with each other? Where they're overlapping?
Oh, you mean where there's more than one fishing
Yeah.
activity? I mean, yeah, I can. The program doesn't do it. I make it do that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yes, we can.
It was just a question for.
If you
for
want to
Ron.
do something where you're just trying to get criteria for how you determine, yes, I can do intersects of layers and determine and break those out as separate things if we want to look. That's really, I need some time to do that.
No, I'm not saying we should do it now. It's just
Okay.
a question for later on.
Yes, yes, we can do that. That's the beauty of having everything in a GIS format is then you have options. You can do queries, you can do intersects and unions and layers of things and all kinds of crazy stuff.
I think you could get away with following that shoreline between the 2 green sections and make basically all the pink a 2.
Definitely's
Everything.
got to go too.
Yeah.
So pink will go 2. How do we, in Snow Island, do we want to make them a 3?
Yeah.
They really do a lot out there, so they're constantly
They've got a
running shit.
lease, the barge on the.
Yep. And a
Sure.
landing craft.
And the only reason that was the only reason I mentioned making that shoreline 3 is because they're building that new outfit beside Weber. So how much is that going to increase the traffic coming from that side now too?
I think that's going to serve their stuff and not.
No, but it's just increased boating
Yeah, I
traffic.
agree with
Yeah, is all I was saying. But
Just
we
the-
can cross that bridge when we edit the map
Yep.
down the road, and that's in place.
Yeah, probably this, I mean, if we're gonna look at the commercial fishing map, I'm assuming we're also working at this map like every year to see if we need to tweak anything. So it's not like we're just
Yeah.
doing this once and it's in stone for the next 15 years. like
Yeah, I
the
think
other
you
one.
can make that all 2.
I mean, if you were to do an inventory of number of boat trips, I would say Quahog Bay probably takes top 5 in the town. Of boat trips in a day in the summertime.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe top 3.
Yeah.
So there is something to say. There is a case to be make it type 3.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we shouldn't, but it's just jump
That's the
two numbers.
That's the only reason I was saying it is, I mean, that's where I've grown up fishing. I just will see the traffic. It's nonstop boat after boat
Yeah.
after boat after boat on a nice day in the summertime.
So the marina, when we did 2011, Steve Rao was involved with that. His mooring field was inside the point. You go north,
Just come
Condro
back.
Point, or what is that little, if you go a little more, right there. But his mooring field was north of that, considerable ways. Now it's south of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I mean. I think this mooring field, I used to be the caretaker on Still Island. Mooring field.
They have not expanded.
They haven't expanded.
All right. I just want to remind everybody, we're on a time crunch. We got 20 minutes left to finish the rest of the town.
We're
So
getting close though, I think.
I think we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, we don't have much of it left.
All right, so bottom line is the pink that's in Quahog Bay is going to go to number 2. Is that what we're thinking for
Yeah.
now? And then we'll maybe discuss it one more time before we commit to a further upgrade.
Well, around snow, it's gonna go green, right?
Rounds,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll do a little like right around Snow Island. I'll do the northern section and the southern section. Yeah. All right, and then that's still 2. This is green already, so that's fine.
I'd follow where all that pink is. I'd turn it into 2
Yeah.
right until about
Here?
the Q and Quahog. They're just a little bit below your cursor. There's that.
Oh, yep. Sorry, I'm looking at
Yep,
all the
right there.
layers. Yeah, okay, so basically follow the moorings and the
Yeah.
wharfs situation.
Because that's where a lot of those boats
Yep.
that are coming out of Quahog Bay are coming out through, and
Yep.
then you have a lot of fishing activity there as
All
well.
the fishing, yeah. These little shallows, these are okay being type 1, or do you guys want to?
And I'd make that type too. There's a lot
Okay.
of fishing activity there. There's pogeing, lobstering, and a
and going.
ton of wreck boaters that
Yep.
fish on the south end of Yarmouth.
So that means also all these little islands, these kind of get rolled up in type 2 just because of the heavy
Yeah.
commercial fishing activity. You guys are all good with that?
Yep.
All right, so we already got that. All right, let's do Oars and Bailey, I guess, for those done. Off. Oh. Did the narrows. Was this all type 2, this whole side? Did we do this side of the
I'm trying to remember.
sound?
Yeah, because that was where High Head was, right there, right?
Okay.
Remember we did
Yep,
High Head,
okay.
right?
Yep.
Maybe
Good
not.
on that.
I think we're right about
I think-
there.
Yeah, this stretch, is this okay with you guys as staying a type 1? It's got some lobster and pogian, but I don't know what the near shore
I
effort is
think
here.
there's access from there is hard because it's pretty steep
Yep.
too. So
Leave it as
I
1?
can't be okay leaving it as a 1.
Oh, I heard a
The fishing.
I'm trying to throw him a bone now. And now
All right,
It doesn't mean change anything. It's just
right. It's a,
we're taking stock of the fishing.
yep,
yeah,
our,
there is
our
a lot of
activities
boat
are
traffic
changing.
still that comes down through that whole
There
shoreline.
is.
yeah.
Yeah, see, this guy fishes over there.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll switch this to a 2 then, this little section. Okay. These are type 3s already, so
Yep.
that's great. Looks like Cooks and,
I think we can almost, is that purple that's right there?
I
Is
think
that,
that's Cooks.
is,
Can you zoom in on that, or is that it?
Yacht Club. Was Island Yacht
What?
Club.
Zoom in.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so that's Cooks, right?
Look
uh,
at,
should we
Look at that cove, it's
expand
type 1.
that
What's it called?
green, that little chunk
water
of
cove?
pink
Yeah,
we
water
have
cove's
in between the
51.
purple and the green there? Where all that is, that's gotta at least become, there's a lot of boating activity right there. That's a high intensity boating area. I would
That
think that would be
channel-
green.
that channel.
That's where Paul spends most of his time in the summer, he told me.
that whole thing, area should be green.
So like
Yeah.
maybe cut it right here and make this green
Yeah,
and then leave this strip alone, or again, there's a lot going on.
there's quite a bit going on there, isn't there, Jason?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, most of the gear's just outside of it, you know, but
I mean, look, these depths, that's 21 feet, 31 feet. It
Yeah,
comes
that's-
right
Yeah,
in, so.
that's a 2.
Okay, so this will be a 2.
So you're gonna make the cove free?
This will be a,
3,
yep, where all these guys are.
just kinda
So
connect.
carry that green all the way down through
Yep, we'll
the
go
water cove.
Yep,
and then run this shoreline as a 2.
yep.
Yep.
And then this is all, that's well covered.
What about the very tip
Tip
there?
there, like
Should that,
around-
that shouldn't be a 1.
No.
It should be at least a 2.
I'm gonna say 2 with, well, I don't know, around
Because it-
Jakewish.
There's quite a bit of traffic that goes
Yeah,
through
still
the
got
gut there, and
Fishing going in there.
it's a congested area too. You know what I
Hell of a
mean?
duck hunting spot too.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Windy is-
enough.
And I think
Sun coming
after
up,
we found
fly
that
over
tip, we
Freeport coming.
got it.
I think,
hide right
let's
behind
just
the
double
hedge.
check, make sure we got, that's all
Wind off.
fishing area, so we're good. I think we
Yeah, you
have.
get the western shore deck up until
Yeah, you get the whole,
Oh yeah.
we didn't do any of that.
But I think it's pretty well.
Start at the, right down at the tip.
Okay. Okay, this outer stuff, or was gonna
I
be,
think we changed that all to a 2.
yeah, because of
But
that.
yeah,
Okay, these are covered by the,
Yeah.
we got those all right. This is already 2.
that is that green Mitchell Field, right there.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. Then
Okay, and then the rest is already 2, so that's,
Well, actually, go back to Mitchell Field.
yep.
Do we wanna leave it free now? Cause there probably is gonna be a boat ramp there and a mooring field,
probably be high intensity.
high intensity, so it's
But
probably
when
gonna be
is-
purple.
when is that happening? Do we want to jump the gun?
Right, should
Should we
wait.
Should we wait until it actually
Well, we
happens?
voted to spend $2 million to do it.
We can change it in
So
another
I
year
think it's gonna
though.
happen.
Right at the top.
What do members of the public think?
I think we should.
I don't want to screw something up by counting our chickens before they hatch. I want Sammy on this one.
We gotta spend the money, it's purple.
Yeah, that's another way to approach it.
Question? Billy, you were talking about 2011. This access from land.
I believe we focus more on how people access the water, opposed to how the water is, what's going on in the water is affecting the land, I guess.
So does it need to, do you need to clarify somewhere that the criteria are?
I don't know if it is, I'm just saying in my brain, I'm thinking that, but I don't know if that's actually a fact.
I don't
So
know
we
if
may
it-
want to go back and,
I think the way that these are
Read the minutes,
defined
maybe.
kind of does that itself because it calls it water uses, you know, and when I didn't realize that until Billy said it. I had assumed, and maybe I was wrong in my assumption, that that's how they did it before, was based on the uses occurring in the water. So I don't think we necessarily have to say anything, but I don't think it would hurt if we did either.
Well, I'm wondering because if somebody says, well, back in 2011.
Yeah.
Which was 15 years ago.
Yeah, I know, but somebody may, are we comparing apples? I don't mean to cause trouble.
no, you're not causing trouble, I just found it very weird that essentially the entire western shore of the neck in 2011 we marked as type 2, and the entire eastern shore we marked as type 1.
Who was on that
And,
committee, Billy?
It wasn't a committee, it was.
Or work group? Somebody on the
But that
east
to
side
me
of that
says,
shore.
no. I mean, the number of piers built in the past 15 years is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
And maybe a lot of those got built along the eastern shore. I don't know, you know, and those weren't there when you guys made them a type 1. I can't speak
I
to
don't know
that.
if we have an inventory from 2000. There probably is part of the, if we read the plan, and maybe,
Yeah, there's
I
no,
haven't done the homework on that.
I don't think they provided any metadata on these. It's just noted as locations. Sometimes they'll attach the year that was permitted and all that stuff,
I
but
mean, just the amount of people that have moved to town, built wharfs, bought boats,
Yep.
wanted to access the water. On a marina, I can tell you that there's going to be more pressure on the resource going forward, not less.
And I think this definitely shows that,
yeah,
100%.
however.
in a very visual way, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think we have covered everything. Do you guys feel like we've
Did we
missed
go-
any
Just keep
areas
going up
No.
that west side of the
of
neck.
Yeah, I'm going to do the lookout.
All right, yeah,
Lookouts.
that's true. Lookouts, I think another,
Should
this is lookout,
lookout
right?
be purple now
I think
too?
it's,
There's kind of a boat launch
I
there too.
would say that would be type 4.
I
So
would
change
agree.
this to type 4?
Yeah,
Well, I wouldn't go around the point.
Maybe just right,
yeah. You know better, speak up.
Really,
Don't go over there.
yep. Just down, yep. I don't know, what are those moorings? What are those?
maybe just go type 4.
Okay. All right, so incorporate the moorings and change this 3 to a 4 is what we've decided for that little section.
Yeah,
And then this is all to going up this side of the neck, which looks like it probably makes sense, also keeping in mind fishing, there's pogian that goes right on up through. This probably makes sense, it looks like it ends with these
Yeah.
wharfs, and then this is quiet up through there,
yeah, I think that makes sense.
all right?
Would you agree, David? Is that
Yes.
pretty quiet?
Yeah. And I think that is everything, I think we did get stuff. Got that section, got Quahog Bay, Harbor, and then everything out there.
Yep.
All right.
Or
Another question. Here and there seasonal has come up, but I'm thinking it doesn't matter. You don't need, I was wondering if you need to separate.
no,
Like if there's a mooring there, there's a
It's a
mooring
mooring,
there,
yeah.
and there's
I
a
think
winter
one
stick
mooring-
there.
One mooring is one thing. I think when you have more than that, have
Well, and now that
more
we,
moorings and 2 types of fishing, that's clearly a type 2. When there's
Yeah.
one mooring and not much else, I don't think it's type 2. But, I mean, people may push back on that and ask us to really look at those shores, but if you put the fishing layer on, it really tells a story.
yeah, it does.
And we don't have the leases on it. Leases would be
Yep.
really important, yet if we could.
Yep, I'll ask them again. I don't know what's up with that. It was a little sketchy that they just turned off access to that, but
I mean, what is the number of leases in 2011 to now? I mean, it's
Massive.
talking
Yeah.
Massive, right?
Massive.
That alone would justify changing the map without the moorings, without the piers, without the fishing in Worry.
The only thing that really matters as far as aquaculture goes, when it comes to your question of like seasonality, when it comes to like kelp farming. But, you know, most people that are interested in doing that type of thing are already aware of that and would come into it with like, would be aware that they most likely could get into an area, you know, on a seasonal basis that they might not otherwise be able to get into. You know?
And we want to make sure they put that,
Right.
don't have to do it all over.
Well, right, they have to apply for,
Yeah.
you know, whatever it is that they're trying to grow, but, you know, as far as, I'm not aware of any other type of farming that is like seasonal in nature, like,
I was thinking more of recreation. That's come up, that
I know we do want to
that the
try and,
recreation is, yeah, but,
The
like you
more
said,
it's
if there's,
still-
well, right, yeah. I mean, if it gets used, it gets used,
Yeah.
but the only type of farming that I know of that's really, and there again, like, it really comes down to the nitty gritty of like, are you gonna be removing your moorings, things like that, because, you know, guys have run into that in the past, I know, where it's like, oh, you know, we're only here in the winter, but then the moorings get left.
thing.
But, you know, they're all details that can be worked out.
Yeah.
so if we got like the mapping stuff good, do you guys want to take a quick look at the definitions and see if we want to tweak this at all, or do we not want to get into that in the last?
We only got 7 minutes, so I
Do you guys
don't,
want to look at it as
I
homework?
think maybe if we look at it and if anybody wants any changes,
Yeah.
that we can just email
Yep.
amongst ourselves real quick, because I think that's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
The next meet's what, still April 2nd, 3:30?
April 9th.
I think the 9th is the day it was due, right?
Yeah.
Are we gonna meet next week, or are we gonna meet the second?
What does the group want to do? Do they want to,
Well, it depends on when Darcy can meet.
I
yeah, and
can,
it depends on when
I
Darcy's
can whip this
available.
out pretty good. So what, we can do it, you know, a week is plenty of time for me to make all the changes. But I'd just assume get it done earlier rather than once the season gets going and everyone
Yeah.
gets busy, so.
Does everybody want to meet again next week?
All,
I'll say, if you meet on the 2nd, you guys want to stay a little bit later and brief the harbor and waterfront.
That's fine.
All right,
Yeah, on the 2nd?
all right,
Yeah.
At 3:30.
At 3:30?
all right.
you're not gonna meet.
Is
I
that-
can, and I can get this done. It's not, I can send you guys a copy, but it's so hard for you to look at a little page that, but I can still send you what I'm finished if you want
Do
to
you
look at it.
need that GIS app or program or whatever it is to be able to actually view it like you do?
Yes, to view it like I do. But when we're finished with this, I can transfer all these shape files to the town and they can put it on the town website, the same way the DMR has their little map viewer.
Kind of like, I think, Paul, you can view the moorings on your website now the same way, right?
It's
Shut
not
up,
the
PDF.
GIS, but we have GIS.
All right.
Yeah, so we will eventually be able to have people look at it that way, but I hesitate to put even a draft on there.
No,
'cause-
don't do
No,
that.
no, no,
But-
no.
But
You know.
do you think it would be possible to send it somewhere and have them print a copy of whatever you do? Have a paper copy here to look
A
at?
big fat one? Well, now that we know that the town of Brunswick was gonna be willing to do it for free if we had asked them, then,
Schiller's gonna do it.
nice. I like that, so
We can
yeah,
have it
yep,
doing something.
yep,
Wouldn't
I'll
that be
get the
cool to
changes
have?
done.
And then
Yeah.
sometimes it's better to be able to like,
Yep,
just be able to look at it for a few minutes.
yep.
Maybe people come a little early and just be
And I'll see how it looks with everything on it. I might do 2 versions, like a cleaner version and then a version that shows all the stuff, maybe
Yeah, that'd be cool. Do one with everything on it,
Yeah.
one with just the,
just the
Just
water
the types.
classifications.
Yeah, yeah.
see if you can get the leases on there too.
Yeah, I know. I can go back, like I have old outdated versions and I can manually add in points from like the DMR little web app thing, but it's really time consuming. It would have been so nice if they just maintained their data accessibility, but I'll make sure we have the aquaculture stuff too, one way or another.
There was a lot of talk about a type 5, is that?
We have a type, last meeting, we created a type 5.
Yep, that's just
But we
our
didn't
legacy
identify
fishing
it.
waters.
Well, type 5 is high intensity heritage fishing, whatever.
Yeah.
mud-
Legacy.
Yeah.
But we didn't identify it.
Well, because we've already marked it on the map. So it's on the map, when you turn that layer on.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think for verbiage, we kept it real simple.
It was,
I had, yeah, these areas are heavily used by one or more commercial fisheries, including lobster, scallop, pogie seiners, European oyster harvest, clam harvest, and rockweed harvest. And
so
that,
that's,
so
at the intersection.
that's the inner, yeah, so basically type 5 is all the funky, separated, like, you know, all those different patterns that we have for the different fisheries. That map in itself is the type 5 waters. Yep. Not a little of everything. Yep. All right.
All right, any other public comment? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn,
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
and we are adjourned.